Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about Paladin. It's a new framework that's trying to solve a billion-dollar problem at the very heart of blockchain. And it just might give big business the one thing it needs to finally go all in on this technology: programmable privacy.
So let's start with a puzzle. Here's the crazy thing about blockchain. The very feature that makes it so secure, its total radical transparency, where everyone can see everything, is the exact reason most big financial institutions won't touch it.
In the industry, they call this the visibility paradox. I mean, think about it. If you're a major bank, can you really run your business out in the open where all your competitors can see every single move you make? No way. But public blockchains, well, they're designed to be completely open. And look, this isn't just some abstract technical debate. This is a very real financial roadblock. It's the reason trillions of dollars in institutional assets are still sitting on the sidelines, just waiting for someone to figure this out. So, here's the bottom line. For blockchain to truly change the world of finance, someone has to find a way to make two polar opposites, total transparency and rock-solid privacy, work together. And that's exactly where Paladin comes into the picture. It's a new open-source framework backed by the Linux Foundation, and it's built from the ground up to solve this very problem. So what does Paladin actually do? Well, its whole mission is to deliver something called programmable privacy. And that sounds a little fancy, but what it really means is it's not just about hiding stuff. It's about giving developers the tools to create very specific, flexible rules for how private data is handled, all without breaking compatibility with the huge Ethereum ecosystem. And if you peek under the hood, you see something really telling. The codebase is overwhelmingly written in Go. Now, in the programming world, Go is known for two things: speed and stability. Choosing Go sends a clear signal that Paladin is being built for the high-stakes, high-speed world of institutional finance. Now, here's the really clever part of Paladin's design. It doesn't try to change the main blockchain at all. Instead, it works like a sidecar that just bolts onto a regular node. It handles all the complex privacy stuff off to the side, and then just passes a secure, anonymous little proof back to the main public chain. And that's a huge deal because you get all this new power without having to disrupt any of the existing infrastructure. You know, this whole sidecar approach is a massive leap forward. The older privacy tools, they were more like simple private tunnels. Sure, they could hide data as it went from A to B, but they couldn't handle much complex logic. Paladin, on the other hand, gives you a whole programmable private environment with advanced features, making it way more useful for real-world finance. Okay, so how does Paladin actually deliver all this privacy? Well, it's not just one single thing. It's really more like a Swiss Army knife for secrecy. It's actually made up of 3 different components, and each one handles a different kind of privacy. First up, you've got Pente. Think of Pente as providing privacy for your logic. This is what you'd use for confidential smart contracts, self-executing business deals that need to run privately between a specific group of people who already know each other. And Pente has this really cool trick up its sleeve. It uses something called an ephemeral EVM. So instead of having a permanent private system, it just, spins up a temporary, disposable little mini blockchain for just one transaction. It runs the private logic, and then the whole environment just vanishes. It's kind of like a pop-up shop for a transaction, super efficient, and it leaves almost no trace. Next in the toolkit is Zeto, and this provides privacy for your assets. This is your maximum security, full-on anonymity option. It uses a fascinating kind of math called zero-knowledge proofs. And the simplest way to think about that is it lets you prove that something is true, like, yes, I have enough money for this payment, without actually revealing any of the secret data that makes it true. So Zeto basically treats every transaction like a ghost. You can't see who sent the money, how much was sent, or who received it. The system, though, can still verify that the whole transaction is legitimate without ever peeking at the details. This is what you'd use to create digital assets that are truly private. And finally, there's Noto. And you can think of this as privacy for regulators. Let's be honest, in a lot of regulated industries, total anonymity isn't just a bad idea, it's illegal. So Noto is the pragmatic choice for that world. It requires a trusted party, like a central bank, to notarize and sign off on transactions, making sure everything stays compliant with the rules. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how does it actually hold up in the real world? Well, let's take a look at its biggest stress test to date, the Bank of Korea's Project Hangang. And this was no small-scale lab experiment. We're talking about a massive, real-world pilot program involving 100,000 ordinary citizens.
And to pull it off, a whole consortium came together, made up of 7 of South Korea's largest commercial banks.
And they put up some serious cash to build the system, with an initial investment of around 26 million US dollars.
So here's what they were testing. It was a 2-tier system. The central bank issued a wholesale digital currency for other banks to use, while those commercial banks issued what they called tokenized deposits to the public for everyday shopping. And the core technology making those retail payments private but still compliant, that was Paladin's Noto.
But, it wasn't a perfect success story. The real world always throws a few curveballs. The banks discovered that the operational costs were pretty high, and the path to actually making money off the system wasn't so clear. That, combined with some shifting government regulations, led the Bank of Korea to hit the pause button and rethink its whole strategy.
So where does that leave us? What does all of this mean for the future? Well, this story is about way more than just one project in one country.
Paladin's entire philosophy is to flip the script and turn privacy from this massive barrier into a useful feature. It allows for something called selective disclosure. Just imagine a bank being able to open a tiny, specific, private window for a regulator to see exactly what they need for an audit without having to show all their other sensitive data to the rest of the world. And really, that brings us to the final trillion-dollar question. By providing a common, open-source privacy layer that any institution can adopt and build on, could Paladin be the bridge that finally lets the world's biggest financial players move their assets onto the blockchain? It's just possible that the visibility paradox might finally have its solution.